Well, hey there. Welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. Today, the movie I'm reviewing is called The Days. This very dramatic story based on true events is now available on Netflix. So I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that I think you'll also really like. So, in a nutshell, starting off, this film is TV 14 because it's on Netflix. It's actually 8 50-minute episodes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving all of them, the collection, is a B plus. I actually really enjoyed it. So the 8 episode miniseries illustrates the trauma and heartbreak of the Fukushima disaster in Japan on March 8th, 2011. Now, I've been to Japan and I was so impressed with the lovely people and beautiful country. Everyone was so polite and so helpful as we traveled from city to city. And one of my sons speaks some Japanese, but he was very shy. And so we basically were relying on Japanese people to speak English. And they did. And as I said, they were so helpful as we were trying to navigate maps and find things and figure out how much things cost and all of that. We got to experience the ancient sites as well as modern culture in Japan. And I'll never forget what I saw while I was sitting on the airplane as we prepared to fly home after an amazing experience in the country there. I looked out my window and I saw the grounds crew below bowing to the people on the airplane as if to say, thank you for choosing to visit our country. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I've never been to another country like that. They're so respectful and so gracious. And it was such a pleasure to spend time in their country. And of course, we all want to return. We barely scratched the surface of that beautiful and amazing country. So, in this film project, we see many people bow to one another in a show of respect. And it's not just like how Americans think of Japanese, they really do that. And again, I'm so impressed with how gracious they are and graceful they are as a people. So hopefully watching this movie will motivate you to prepare your emergency kit in case of a disaster in your area. It's smart to have one in your car, your workplace, and in your home. They call them 72-hour kits. And the reason why is because in a true disaster, no one's going to get to you to offer help within the first 72 hours. And that's when help is especially crucial. And so you fill a backpack with extra clothing, money, important medications, diapers if you have children, food, of course, all of that kind of stuff. And I have been a believer and a practicer of 72-hour kits my entire marriage. And it definitely has given me a sense of security knowing that I have emergency supplies just in case I had to be evacuated at a minute's notice, or I was, trying to race a tsunami that was coming towards me or something. Anyway, I highly recommend it, but that's not the point of the movie. Let me tell you some of the things that I really liked. First of all, the movie begins with a quick glance of the aftermath of this devastating earthquake. And then it jumps to before the earthquake. And the first episode quickly begins with the 8.8 earthquake that started all of the horrific events that unfold in the remaining episodes. The movie was filmed in Japanese, but is offered in Netflix with dubbed English. The special effects I thought are actually pretty good. Amazing cinematography. Episode 3 is just heartbreaking. Get your tissues out and ready. Episode 4 shows a lot of gross radiation exposure to people. So that one's, not family friendly. It's interesting to see that many workers and leaders don't wear suits to the office. Of course, this is a nuclear site, so they're wearing kind of like track suits, including the prime minister. It's so touching to watch workers volunteer for suicide missions. In other words, missions that it's very unlikely that they're going to be exposed to those high levels of radiation. and survive. And so we see some of that. It's all very, very touching to watch the hierarchy and how all of these people are trying to figure out how to solve this life-threatening disaster. We get to see some footage of the real events mixed in with the fictional storytelling, filmmaking part of the footage. You know what I mean? The story and its portrayal remind us that it takes many minds to solve a problem and that teamwork is required. It's what gets the work done. That's one thing I really love about the Japanese people, but really in China, I've spent a lot of time in China and other Asian countries where it's all about building and protecting the community. Whereas here out in the West, it's all about the individual. And so I really like that people are looking out for each other. And you definitely see that in the film. Many of the actors will be very unfamiliar to American audiences, but they'll agree that the Japanese cast did an outstanding job. The cast includes a bunch of names. I don't even know if I should try to say them. They're all these long Japanese names. You can see them all on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. How about that? I don't want to slaughter and embarrass anybody's name. Now, I really did enjoy this series and watching things unfold, but here are just a few things that I didn't like or just thought could have been done better or differently. First of all, Japanese is written on various boards. The camera zooms in, making an emphasis on what is written on those boards, but if you don't read Japanese, you're going to miss those dramatic moments. Sometimes we see subtitles written over what it is we're supposed to be reading, and that's very, very helpful. When it comes to the technical elements of the reactors, you don't have to understand all of the details to know that something is good or bad, mostly. Episode 1 has all of the action with special effects with the earthquake and the tsunami. Those thin white jumpsuits that some of these workers put on don't seem like they would hardly do anything to protect against radiation, right? And of course, you think they're going to tear and then the person is completely exposed. I'd be wearing, I don't know, heavy, I don't even know. I don't know anything about nuclear radiation, but something more than just a thin white thing is all I'm saying. I wanted to see more scenes that showed how the tsunami traveled miles and miles inland. We don't see that much beyond the reactor site and what's taking place there. But those are some of the images that caught my attention when they were on the news. Do you remember watching just fields and houses and cars for miles being affected by the tsunami that was just rolling in? That was just crazy. You think of a tsunami maybe blowing in a little, but not the huge distance that it did during this event. And I would have loved to have seen more personal stories mixed in with all of the technical elements of the reactor facility. There is a family at the heart of this film, and we get to know a little bit about some of the male workers, but not that much about them. And I think that would have made it even more gripping. All right, let me give you some tips for parents. We do see some dead animals. There is some profanity, but no F-bombs. We see gross pictures of people's arms and bodies after they've been exposed to radiation, and it's pretty nasty. We see the naked backside of a few men in a shower as they've just come in, taken off their radiation suits, and are trying to get clean. And then this guy comes in with one of those devices to monitor the level of radiation. And he's testing these guys and putting it up against their arms. And he's like, go take a shower. It's not all gone. Go back, scrub harder, and that is so scary. And these poor men, what they did is just amazing and mind-boggling. And many of them, most of them went for days without any sleep as they were trying to solve these problems that kept surfacing. When they kind of thought they had something under control, something else would happen. And just so heart-wrenching to watch them go through all of this. Some of the themes that are illustrated very well in the movie are survival, emergency preparedness, government incompetence, sacrifice, courage, definitely, choices and consequences, and accountability. I was very impressed with some of these men as they were making decisions saying, I will take accountability for whatever the consequences are, whether it be life or death or or whatever, you know? And again, I was just so humbled by that because here in the West, we just don't see that very often. It's a very me first type of uh, culture here in the West. And I'm embarrassed by that many times. Other themes are hope, nuclear energy, and the media, of course. All right, so I always write down funny lines and interesting lines while I'm watching movies just so that I can share them with you so you get a taste for the dialogue. I'll share a few of them with you, but the rest of them are on moviereviewmom.com. So that we hear a narrator at the beginning, and we're seeing some of the things unfold, the devastation, you know, at the very beginning, the aftermath of the earthquake. We hear the narrator and he says, what is the meaning of those days? And that's partly where this film series, if you can call it a series, I guess, gets its name from. The days. These are the days, the life and death days. There's a heartbreaking conversation between two of the employees, and it was hard for me to catch the names of some of these characters. So these are both just two of the employees at the nuclear reactor site. And so one of them is saying, okay, we got to do this stuff. And the other one says, will we be able to do it in complete darkness? And the other one says, we have no other choice. And that was the thing, is their choices were horrible. This horrible thing versus this horrible thing, you know? And there was just a no win-win situation. Another interesting line was when somebody says to the other workers, don't think about how it will affect your body. Just focus on accomplishing your mission, because they had to put themselves in such dangerous situations. And then the narrator at one point also says, what can I do with the time I have left? You know, and as they're all contemplating the very reality that they could die at any given moment, the building they were in could explode, or all of their reactors could explode, or if they were volunteering to go into a dangerous area that was filled with radiation, you know, they're trying to decide, what do I want my legacy to be? Or how do I want people to remember me? Did I die with courage and sacrifice, you know, or what? And I just thought that that was so profound and so beautiful, really. All right, so I want to give you some recommendations for some other films that I think are similar in many ways. The first one, obviously, is the TV miniseries Chernobyl that won awards. It was told so well, and we got to understand the characters a little bit more. And maybe that's why I was hoping to really sink my teeth into some characters in this series. But anyway, that is fantastic. Also based on a true story of a nuclear reactor and everything that happened over there in Eastern Europe. Another one that came out last year, actually, there were four versions of a true story that happened. And the version that I liked, I think the most, was called 13 Lives. There were a bunch of young children on a soccer team that went hiking inside a cave, and it flooded and they became trapped for days and days and days. One is a documentary, which is fascinating. And then the other three are different not fictional, but feature film versions of the storytelling. And they're all a little bit different. Check out my reviews of those, because I compare and contrast how the different versions represented the storytelling of that true event. And then, oh, Cave Rescue. That was another one of the versions of that story. Also very well done. All right, well, hug your family and your loved ones and friends closely, because the bottom line is we never know how much time we have. Any crazy catastrophe, disaster, or emergency could happen at any given moment. So thank you for watching my YouTube channel. If I never see you again, that's a terrible thing to say, but it's true. I really appreciate your support. When you get a minute, like, subscribe, comment down below, run over and visit me over on Instagram as Movie Review Mom, on Facebook as a group called Movie Review Mom, and I also have my author page on Instagram called Trina Boice, where you can learn about my books and my online courses and some of my other nonsense. All right, thank you so much. Have a fantastic and safe, happy, healthy day. Bye for now.